And we are recording now. Alright, so we're recording and I'm going to upload it to my channel when we're done. Anyway, so let's start out the pod by introducing ourselves and talking about the team we are a fan of so that the people are able to know that and not have any misconceptions about what we're talking about. So I'll go first. Hi. Y'all can call me Zero, but I upload this on the Patriot 5000 channel. Anyway, I go by many names. Um, I'm a fan of the Spurs. Grew up in Texas. Grew up in Houston actually, but I'm a Spurs fan. Don't ask me about that. But yeah, let's move on to Mang.
Alright, I'm Mang. I'm a Lakers fan. I've been on this bandwagon since 2000, but I never left. I'm a true Laker fan.
You
Don't
su-
hate me.
you suffered through some tough times for sure.
I suffered really tough times, but these past few years were some of the most fun years I had rooting for the Lakers. Like,
Yeah, I can see that. Tofu, what about you?
Um, call me Tofu. I've been a fan of the Celtics for most of my life. I lived in Boston for most of my life, so that's how that goes. I think we have a really good shot now to finally win a championship since Garnett and company. So I'm pretty happy about that.
All right. So, name of this podcast is the Offseason TAP, and I called it TAP just because I was at work, came up with this name. I was like, what? I was like, what if we make this thing called Thoughts and Predictions? And I'm like, oh well, TAP can be shortened, and that sounds pretty good when you just say it. Off-season TAP just has a nice, it kind of rolls off the tongue, has a nice little ring to it, and I can put a picture of beer in the background. Anyway, moving on. So that's what that is. I guess we will start our discussion first with the Los Angeles Lakers. And essentially, with this, I kind of want to talk about. I kind of itemize things in the pod and talk about different parts of the team that we're going to be discussing. And so let's actually just start with by going down and talking about what we think of the Lakers' moves this offseason. So I'm gonna log into. I'm gonna go on Roto World and look at all the like move. Well,
I can tell you the moves.
yeah. Is there a place where we can find like documentation of all the moves that the team's made?
I think NBA.com,
Oh, okay. So NBA team
but I can tell
transactions.
you right now, I am the documentation.
Of
Signed
course.
LeBron, and then Rondo for I think 9 million, and then Lance Steven for like 4.5 million, JaVale McGee, and uh, and finally Michael Beasley, and the rest of the new additions are rookies, Mo Wagner, Svi, and the other guy,
Okay.
Bongo, I think.
I'm excited for
Bonga,
Bonga.
Mo
yeah.
Wagner.
What?
I'm excited for Mo Wagner.
Yeah,
I think he's interesting. Yeah.
he's part of the new Lakers personality with the young kids, but he didn't show up towards the end of summer league, so we gotta wait and see with him.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I'm looking at it on NBA.com right now, and I'm looking at all the transactions. It doesn't have the stuff like contract details and stuff, but it has like all of the transactions themselves. So that's useful, and I can look at their box scores, and I have Basketball Reference open as well. So yeah, how? So okay, let's start with just like what you think about what the Lakers did this offseason. What are your thoughts on what are your thoughts on that, man?
I mean, when you get LeBron, what else can you say?
That's true.
Exactly.
But what else do you think, man, about like besides the of course you got LeBron, yay stuff.
I think that a lot of the additional moves are not that big of a deal. Rondo is only
I
Rondo is
agree with that.
important. Like I think Rondo is still a top point guard, at least a starting caliber point guard, even though he doesn't play that much minutes.
That's fair. What do you
Do you
think
think a
about
lot of these
I
players? Oh,
can
go
get
ahead.
Rondo a bit.
mhm.
What?
I was just saying, what do you think a lot of these players will even be on the team next year as far as the free agent signings?
No.
Uh, I
No.
mean, no. But
Yeah, exactly.
the thing about JaVale McGee and Lakers not getting any centers, I think this is a really big case that LeBron will play a lot of center this year,
Yeah, in the small ball lineups, yeah.
and what people started asking
Yeah,
because
like when they play against the Warriors, they're going to be starting LeBron at center
yeah,
probably.
but like I think they're gonna force teams to go to small ball lineups by putting LeBron at center because
Yeah, that
LeBron
too.
has been reluctant to play the 4 or the 5, but now it seems like Magic told LeBron
Yeah,
I want you to play center, and
yeah,
LeBron agreed, and that's why we have the Lakers now as it is.
yeah. I'm curious about seeing LeBron play center, but like, he's not gonna be like he's not gonna be going up playing center against like Pau Gasol, but he's gonna be playing center against centers like when LaMarcus Aldridge is at center again, for example, against the Spurs. He'll probably be playing center in lineups where the Spurs play LaMarcus Aldridge at the 5. But anyway, I think it's interesting just because we've seen not Lamarcus, LeBron transition to the power forward position last year in Cleveland. He did a lot of backing down, and he was really more of a true power forward than a small forward like he's been in the past when the NBA was like kind of bigger. So I think that's going to be cool to see, just him playing the 5 position, even though it probably won't be that different, just because when you play small ball centers, like sometimes their centers are just like a wing player. So especially in the case of like Golden State and Houston.
I forgot who said this, but with the Miami Heat, when they
Mhm.
played the Lakers and Pau Gasol was still center and he was still the starter, they put LeBron at center on Pau Gasol and he just destroyed Pau. So it's not
That's
out of the question.
yeah. Oh yeah. Okay.
It's still in play.
That's interesting. Um, yeah, it's something yeah, that's something I wouldn't expect, but that's pretty cool. So yeah, okay, we talked about LeBron. Now, speaking while we're on the LeBron topic, let's talk about. Do you think what do you think the motivations were for LeBron behind his moves? Like, just in your opinion, not necessarily like exactly the stuff he said. Like, what do you think were the motivations for LeBron's
I
moves here?
think it had to do more personal than basketball
I
reasons.
totally agree. Totally agree.
Like that's just, I mean, you can't say it was just basketball reasons when you look at what the team was before he even joined, because usually LeBron doesn't really make these sort of moves unless he knows he's going to be on a team that's ready to compete. At least that's what we've seen in the past. So
Right.
I mean, I don't know what else to say besides he probably just wanted to do some other things besides basketball, and LA was the place to do it.
Yeah, you guys heard he's like producing a new show called Shut Up and Dribble.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, stuff like that. Like I think that kind of goes to show like what's on his
Yeah.
mind here. Like I don't have a problem with it, but it's just that like
No.
let's just be truthful about like what's going on here. Let's not try to act like the Lakers are going to be like the best team he could have been gone to be in championship contention.
But I also think that he thinks that wherever he goes, he can turn it into a championship team.
Yeah, I will agree with that too. I will think
True.
yeah, because the Lakers the reason they signed all those 1 year deals is just because like, they're gonna try and I think what they're trying to do is that they're trying to like make it so that this is kind of a no pressure year for them. Well, I mean, there's pressure because with LeBron, there's always gonna be pressure of like we gotta win everything, but like at the same time, nobody's really expecting them to like even get out of the first round. Some people, like I don't expect them to get out the first round. That's my saying. That's what I'm saying, and like I feel like they kind of realize this and they're saying, all right, let's bring in these guys for 1 year. The young guys who we're gonna keep and didn't have to lose in a trade, um, like Josh Hart, Kyle Kuzma, Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, they're gonna get better and they're gonna learn how to play besides LeBron because I think there's gonna be some struggles for guys like Lonzo Ball and Brandon Ingram playing next to LeBron, and that's gonna happen. There's gonna be some growing pains, but I think at the end of the year they're gonna be better for it and they're gonna be better as a team to put around LeBron whenever they get like a Kawhi Leonard or a Jimmy Butler um, or God
Clay
forbid Clay
Thompson.
Thompson. I was about to
Yeah.
say. And then when they're going to be actually ready to go and actually like a great supporting cast for LeBron because they've played under him for a year. And even though LeBron will be 34, he's probably still going to be like he's basically fucking immortal.
It's
So
just a
like
number to him.
it's just it's really just a number for him. So he's still going to be great. He's going to be like probably in the MVP race after next season. And so it's going to be the same player and well yeah, like they put themselves in a pretty good position, but let's not. It's definitely like I guess LeBron's got himself into a good situation, and like I guess he decided that like if even if I do go to like Philadelphia or like Houston, then like am I really gonna beat the Warriors? Like they I like part of this is also just waiting another year for the Warriors to age out and like maybe fuck off or something. And maybe KD or like Klay Thompson decides to leave. Who knows? So yeah.
I think LeBron saw the Lakers as like maybe not this year, but the year after, that is the best of the teams he could sign with that to win a championship, because Houston is not going to get better next year. And Philadelphia, they could get LeBron. They have Simmons. They have Embiid, but the Lakers have max space for another free agent. So I think he put that into factor that he could bring someone else with
Yeah.
him,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
he
yeah.
really believes that someone will come at least next year.
I mean,
Right.
someone definitely will come. I don't think LeBron would. I don't think LeBron honestly thinks that no one will come. I think someone will obviously come to Los Angeles to play with them. That's a
It's
no-brainer for someone.
it's technically not a guarantee, but like, well, it's the Lakers. LeBron's there. It's
But
probably gonna
these
happen.
players, they know more than us. Like
Well,
LeBron
Yeah.
no,
probably knows.
LeBron's gonna sell to some like young star, whoever it may be, that it's gonna be their team, and he's gonna be like the second guy
No.
because
What?
he wants. I think he could do that. I think he'll sell that to them
Oh. Okay.
because I think that's what he at this point. No one wants. I mean, that's why Kyrie ended up going to wanted to be traded because he didn't feel like it was ever going to be his team, and I think LeBron noticed that. And it's like, well, if I can just like sell it to someone because I'm going to be here for how many years? Maybe 3 more years. If they're here for longer than I am, they can be the next Laker guy then. But
But
we all know it's going to be LeBron's team.
It's
Because
gonna.
do you think
he's
It's
the
yeah.
best player.
What do you think about what?
what do you think about like a lot of talk that LeBron wants to play more off ball? Will he do that? Can he do
I
that?
think it's lip service.
Yeah,
Lip
I think
service.
lip service. I say lip service too.
Like,
I mean, come on. I'll believe when I see it.
I think he really wants to cruise in the regular season.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so
But
too.
like he never had like someone who he could just give the ball and let them create for himself.
I
for
mean,
LeBron.
there was Kyrie.
Kyrie.
But Kyrie's not a playmaker. Like he creates for himself, but he doesn't create for his teammates.
I mean, I guess,
Lakers.
but like, I really,
On the
I'm.
Lakers, like he could be on the floor with
Kyrie didn't have bad
with
assist
other
numbers in
creators.
Cleveland, did he? I thought he had like respectable assist
They were
numbers.
okay, but they weren't like a true point guard numbers.
Right,
No.
but that's not what he is. But I feel like there were maybe
Yeah.
5 assists a game, maybe around there.
Yeah, it's
'Cause,
more like a shooting guard.
obviously, yeah.
But like,
So
I personally don't think he's gonna be. He's. I don't think he's gonna not dominate the ball because that's just kind of who LeBron is.
Like his usage rate goes down by let's say 5%. That's still a big drop.
Yeah. I mean, it's possible. I mean, like there's guys like Ingram and Lonzo who are just gonna be better with the ball in their hand, and I think it's gonna be great when LeBron goes to sit down and like you can have a guy like Kyle Kuzma or Josh Hart or Michael Beasley
that's
in
what I
the
was
game.
thinking. How do you
And
think these rotations are going to be? Like, are you think LeBron's going to start with some of these rookies? Or do you think they're going to bring in some of those vets to play with LeBron to start with them, and then they're going to put the rookies?
let's
in?
actually talk about who we think they're gonna start next.
I think Ingram's starting for sure.
I
McGill,
think so too.
McGee's
Yeah.
gonna start, but he will not. He will play maybe until for 4 or 5 minutes in the first quarter, then he'll be subbed out.
Yeah, probably.
Now with the guards, I think it's really in play. Well, there are two things that could happen. One, LeBron starts small forward, and Kuzma is power forward, and Ingram is the shooting guard. And I think what's more likely to happen, they start both Rondo and Lonzo in both guard positions.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
What?
Think that.
I think Rondo and Lonzo are gonna start together.
Ooh, that's a spicy take right there. I'll remember
If
that one.
if not, Rondo and Lonzo are the or Ronzo is the backcourt of the Lakers death lineup.
Why would they
And-
have would they have them both in the Lakers death lineup? I don't get that.
I think it will work. I just do like they're both really good playmakers. Lonzo is not that ball dominant.
Yeah,
He's really good at those touch passes. I think it will work.
I think you need to see Lonzo knock down a lot more shots if you're gonna.
yeah.
Lonzo
I'm not
is
not
too
comfortable.
hard.
I'm not comfortable playing Lonzo and Rondo at the same time.
I just don't know if he. I mean,
Unless
Lonzo
it's in the
can't knock
playoffs.
down the shots. I don't know if Lonzo can knock down the shot to be a sufficient 2 guard in that like lineup to be able to score enough. Because you can't have them both just trying to play a pick and roll offense or like trying to do that each time. That's not going to work.
Yeah.
But Rondo's not a pick and roll point guard.
But when you're both of them are out there though, like there's like no sense of spacing at all. So what are you gonna have as far as your front court? You're gonna have like Ingram and you're gonna have LeBron and you're gonna have who? Kuzma?
Could be, yeah. For a death lineup, I think that's plenty spacing for a front court.
I just think if you're gonna have spacing, it shouldn't just be in your front court, not in your back court. Though.
Why don't you put like KCP out there in the death lineup?
Oh yeah, KCP. Yeah, KCP could start.
Yeah, here's who I have starting. I have Lonzo, KCP, Ingram, LeBron, and JaVale McGee.
Yeah, that also makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I think that's what's gonna happen on day one.
I think towards the end of the season, though, Josh Hart will take that starting spot from KCP.
Perhaps. Oh, I didn't realize this. The Lakers signed Joel Berry from UNC. That's kind of cool.
Ooh.
Oh,
Yeah, I think that was one of the. I think that's still a non-guaranteed contract.
Yeah, it's a non-guarantee, but that's pretty interesting. I didn't know he signed.
They have only one non-guaranteed left, so we don't know who's gonna get that.
Yeah, I watched him play at UNC for years and years. Anyway, that's interesting.
What does he play?
He's a point guard.
Hmm.
Yeah, this is a guy from UNC. Yeah, it is. He's like Isaiah Thomas height though. Well, slightly taller, but yeah, he's like 6 feet. Anyway, okay. So next thing, so we talked about who we think's gonna. Tofi, did you ever say who you think's gonna start?
I agree with you. I think that's the same lineup.
Okay, cool.
But also, I want to put on I think it would be great for Rondo to come off the bench because I think he would work really well with the young players. And
yeah, I think he can make Josh Hart and Kyle Kuzma a lot better.
Yeah, and he could eat up bench lineups from the other team.
Yeah, for sure. I think the Lakers bench is going to be quite good. That's one of the things I like about the team a lot. Their bench
their bench has been good for years. They're not a top heavy team, but they got 10 players who are just as good as each other.
Yeah, their bench is gonna be pretty sweet. I guess I wonder if Mo Wagner will play coming off the bench, or if they're just gonna play Zubats. I'm guessing they're just gonna play Zubats.
With Zubats, people didn't see enough growth from him last year. But there's still so much of he seems clueless on the floor. While Wagner seems like a smarter player from college and summer league.
Yeah, they're probably just gonna figure it out in training camp. He's gonna be the first center off the bench.
Yeah,
Yeah, I do think that I think Lonzo and Ingram are gonna struggle a little bit, just starting off playing with LeBron, and the fact that we don't really know if Brandon Ingram's a shooter like that, and Lonzo we know is gonna take a little while to work on that. I'm also kind of worried about the fact that Lonzo spent a lot of his offseason injured with so he wasn't able to put up a lot more shots or just kind of work on some things to iron out his game. So I think he's gonna I think it's gonna be rough coming into the season with him.
But both are really good at off ball, and they can cut to the. They could do really good cuts.
Yeah, I think I think their defense will be kind of interesting too. They were okay on defense last year. I think they were around 13th or 14th.
Yeah, then that's good.
Defense. That's fine. I think they're gonna be they might be a little bit better. I think it depends on how much LeBron cares about defending. I don't know. But with that starting lineup, I think it's gonna be okay defense. With Lonzo and KCP, they're gonna defend, so that's gonna be a fine defensive backcourt. The front court, I think, may be a little bit more porous in terms of defense. They might get carved up by really good power forwards or something. What else? What else do we have? Why don't we each give one before we move on to the next team? Because I think we've covered everything. Why don't we each give one prediction for the Lakers that we have for this season? So I'll start. I'm gonna say they're gonna win. I think they're gonna win around 48 games, and I think that Lonzo and Ingram are going to struggle a lot at the start of the year, but they will slowly come back to form. But they're going to struggle, is my call. That's my call. What about you, man?
Um, I think they are making it to the second round.
Okay.
Um, I think Ingram will get All Star talk.
Brandon Ingram?
Yeah, he'll get All Star
Ooh, I like that one. Okay.
talk.
I like that one.
Not talk, but not like he will be an All Star, but people say, oh, maybe he's an All Star this year. He'll get that kind of hype.
Okay. That's okay, interesting. I like it. What about you, Tofu?
I think they make the playoffs. I probably see maybe a second round berth, but I also think LeBron misses a few games a la his first year in Cleveland, where he got upset that they weren't winning as much, which probably might happen to start the season.
Okay. Okay, cool. Is there anything else you want to cover on the Lakers, or are we ready to move on to the San Antonio Spurs?
Let's move on.
All right. So next team we got San Antonio Spurs. Some of the moves we made this offseason include trading Kawhi Leonard, which we will get into a discussion about. Let me go to the page on Roto World. Yeah, so the Spurs, they traded Kawhi Leonard. Um, they traded Kawhi Leonard and Danny Green for Jakob Poeltl, DeMar DeRozan, and a 2019 top 20 protected first. What else did they do? They also signed Marco Bellinelli for 2 years and $12 million. Signed Davis Bertans for 2 years, $14 million. Signed Dante Cunningham for the minimum, I believe. Bryn Forbes for slightly above the minimum. Re-signed him. They also lost Kyle Anderson to the Memphis Grizzlies for a 4-year, around $37 million contract, fully guaranteed with 15% trade kicker. And they also what else did they do? They waived Brandon Paul, and yeah, those are pretty much the important moves. So let's talk about the Kawhi Leonard trade first. Now we'll go down with each of us and talk about our opinions on the trade. Let's actually start with Tofu and get his opinions on the trade.
I mean, I think they did fine, just fine getting that trade off. If they really thought Kawhi wasn't going to play, if he wasn't just going to be a distraction for the team, you got basically a franchise player back for him for more years, and a young good player. So I can't see what was wrong with it on the Spurs side in the end, besides getting your franchise player. But considering the circumstances, I don't think they lost in this deal.
Meng.
I think it's a 10 out of 10 trade for them.
Okay.
They could not bring back Kawhi Leonard to training camp. The relationship was just unrepairable. And by getting DeRozan, it's like they did not go for like many teams could have offered them, the 2 future first round picks, their blue chip prospects, but they went for a veteran. They went for DeRozan, an all-star, an MVP candidate. I think with this trade, they could even be their ceiling is really high for the regular season.
You said
I
what? What'd you say?
I think their ceiling is really high for the regular season
Okay.
as their record.
So about the trade, I think the Raptors came out a little bit better in the trade, but I think considering the circumstances and what was going on, I think this and especially I think this is important to bring up, but especially the Spurs' goals as what they want to do as a team and as an organization. Considering all of that, I think they did okay. Like I hear people like I talked to you guys about this before, but I think that like I hear some people killing the Spurs for this trade because like I think people can have their opinions on DeMar DeRozan and that's fine. I've been very critical of him in the past too. But I think when people like see this trade and absolutely roast the Spurs for it because they didn't like start rebuilding or didn't like try to get a bunch of picks and a young core, I feel like people are just kind of missing the point with what the Spurs are trying to accomplish with this trade. the Spurs were like, okay, so Kawhi Leonard wants out. We can't do anything about it. We tried to do everything we could. That's fine. So what we need to do is we need to get a return that we can immediately compete with. If we can continue to stay relevant with Greg Popovich in the twilight of his career, just so we can do right by him and right by the fans and the organization. Okay. So considering that thought process, going out and getting a proven all-star who, you can think what you want about him, but he's an all-star and he's capable of scoring upwards of 25 points or more points a game, and he's a pretty good player. Um, Considering all of that, and then getting like a young center who I know as a Spurs fan, I know we've needed that for a while. A young center who's like tall and can get up there and really finish around the rim and rim protect. Spurs have needed that for a minute, and also getting a first round, which will probably convey next year if Kawhi Leonard decides he gives a shit in Toronto, which I think he will, because if he wants to get to the Lakers, then he's got to like play like he means it.
Right.
Um, then the Spurs will get 2 first rounders next year. I think the Spurs can win more than 50 games this year. They won 47. I know the West got more powerful, like it got better, but the Spurs somehow made the playoffs in 147 with no Kawhi Leonard, and with that whole situation like plaguing the team last year, probably
And
maybe
they won
making them underperform a little
67
bit.
with Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, and like all that stuff happening, still 147 made the playoffs. So I wouldn't say the sky's the limit for this team, but they can do quite well for themselves, and I wouldn't be surprised if they
I,
finished top 4 in the West.
Actually, they
Um,
made 67 with the worst LaMarcus Aldridge and the worst supporting cast than what they have right now.
that is true. And so when I look at this trade, I'm like, okay, losing Kawhi Leonard sucks, but we need to get him out anyway, probably.
Did
And
you think that you would get maybe a better player than Jakob Pertl with DeMar DeRozan? Because
I was hoping and
I thought they were
praying
going to
for
be,
OG Anunoby.
yeah, that's what I thought they were going to give up.
I
I
was
was
I was
surprised
pretty
they
I was
didn't give
pretty
it up in the end.
disappointed. Yeah, that's what pissed me more off about the trade than like losing Kawhi Leonard. Honestly, what pissed me off the most about the trade was not getting OG Anunoby and also getting rid of Danny Green. So that creates this
Right.
problem for the Spurs that I think we'll go into more depth later about positional depth, which we'll talk about in a bit. But essentially with this trade, I'm like, I I was most mad about losing Danny Green, honestly, and I was like, oh, like he's maybe dropped off in the last couple of years, but he's still like a good floor spacer, and he's still like a great guy to have on the team. Like he just seemed like an awesome dude. So it always sucks to lose that.
I
And
thought the Spurs saw his contract as dead weight.
what'd you say?
That the Spurs saw his contract as dead weight.
I no, because he picked up his player option for $10 million, and $10 million for Danny Green is like pretty okay, honestly. And like
Yeah.
it wasn't expiring this season, 2018-19 anyway. So I don't think the Spurs hated that contract or anything. They were fine with it. There were rumors that they were trying to trade him for like Avery Bradley or something, but I don't know how true those were. So I don't know. Maybe they do, but yeah, I'm not too sure about that. Okay, so now that we've gone over the meat of the thing, let's talk about the actual Kawhi Leonard situation in general, and let's try to like summarize what you guys thought about it. What do you think? Who's to blame? How do you think each side handled it? Stuff like that. Let's start with Tofu.
I I really I was really disappointed in what Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili said, because at that point, you really can't. I know you want to voice that to the Kawhi, but don't do that publicly. That was probably my biggest gripe of the whole thing, was that I feel like Pop didn't really try and make it put it on Kawhi, but I felt that some of the players did, namely those two, and you really can't have that happen when he's your franchise player. Like that was crazy to me.
See, my personal opinion on those remarks made by Monty Ginobili and Tony Parker were that like they weren't necessarily meant as shots at Kawhi. Like when Tony Parker says his injury is 100 times worse, he's kind of just stating facts, and like I guess he's kind of. I think I kind of always thought he was just saying that like, look, I was really surprised that like I was able to come back even though mine was like worse than his. So like I'm not. I don't think he was trying to throw shade at Kawhi, but I can totally understand why you think that way. Like I think it's a little less black and white than that.
Are we
Montage,
sure
huh?
that he was not trying to throw shade at Kawhi?
Yeah, that's the thing. Are we sure about that?
And
Because I
like,
don't know. I don't know what the relationship really is between
how
the
does
two
he know
players.
that his injury was worse? Like,
like it's like that thing when you have the franchise player like that who you got hurt in the playoffs and he's your best player and he's not playing for that long. I mean, and then he comes back and he plays for a little bit, then he goes back off. Like I don't know why you publicly. I feel like at a Spurs organization you don't see something like that happen, where they don't talk about that something like that because I feel like that just creates more of a distraction and something they don't want as like an organization.
I just don't think that like I don't think it's like Tony Parker is like as like a 50,000 year veteran is gonna like be a guy who's gonna like go out into the media and say some petty stuff just to like throw shots around because and I don't think he's like I know he slept with some dude's wife, but like I don't think he's that. I don't think he's that guy. Like really, when it comes to like shit that's actually important. So like there's this like quote he had like in earlier in July where he was talking about where he said um yeah, after he agreed to his contact with Charlotte, he was like, I have no problem with Kawhi Leonard. We had never had an argument. When the journalist asked me if my injury was worse than Kawhi's, I said yes because it was true. But that didn't lessen the significance of his injury. He took over the franchise, and I gave up the torch to the franchise willingly. It's very sad that the media took one quote and made it sound like I didn't want to play with him. He was the face of the franchise. So, so
Why are you saying this just now? That's my first question. Why did you say it like back then when you needed to say it in damage control situation right then and there? It doesn't
okay.
help now. That's my thing about that. Why I'm
I
like,
feel like he didn't realize that like everybody was going to blow it up as much as they did, and he was kind of caught off guard by it. Because to him, it probably didn't seem like a big deal that he was saying that because he didn't intend it
Then
as
he's
shots.
reckless. And if he really thinks that way, then
No. I will
he
say that.
shouldn't.
I will say that like if you think he should be more careful with his words, that's a fair thing to say.
I think he shouldn't have that opinion in the first place. I don't think you should immediately think
I
that
don't think you should voice that
his
opinion.
injury was
Don't
worse.
voice that opinion. If you have it, it's fine. Don't voice it.
Okay.
How do you know that your injury was worse? You know, how can you be sure? You're not. You didn't have the same injury as Semu.
Um. Okay. So those are all fair takes to have.
I think
So
what Manu said was fair.
yeah, I think what Manu said was fine, honestly. I think it was a lot less bad than what Tony Parker said. Well,
He
yeah.
he had more of a problem that Kawhi isn't around, even though he's injured. Like there's that expectation
Yeah.
that you should still be around, but Kawhi wasn't.
So I asked Tofi about his general thoughts on the situation. Now, what do you think, man?
Uh, I think that if we go who's to blame, I think it was a both sides thing. If you all my knowledge I'm getting from here is from a podcast between Zach Lowe and Michael C. Wright. Michael C. Wright is a beat writer for the Spurs, and
Yep.
they pretty much said that as we keep going on with this, we're going to learn more, and things are still fuzzy. And it's both that Spurs did not handle Kawhi very well, and Kawhi did not speak his expectations to the Spurs well enough so that they could react in a certain way. But I think in the end of the day, he just didn't want to be part of an organization like the Spurs.
You think he just didn't want to be part of the organization?
I think he just wanted something different.
So it was more about that than like the fact that the Spurs had handled things badly, or was it the fact, or was the fact that the Spurs handling, or was the Spurs handling things badly, sort of a catalyst to him not wanting to be part of the
Yeah,
organization?
I think the Spurs handling it badly was like just speaking that this is the Spurs way to do things.
Do you think that like he maybe just didn't want to be part of the organization like before like the
Yeah,
injury shit got really bad?
yeah, I think he was questionable about it before. Then once the whole injury thing happened, that's when he was sure of it.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. All right. What about Popovich's comments in the playoffs?
Which ones?
So like he was talking about how LaMarcus Aldridge is like a workhorse. He was like he's here every day. Let me see if I can find him. Popovich comments playoffs.
Is Popovich famous for throwing shade at his players on the media? Like Phil Jackson used to do that.
He's seriously being hard on his players, so I mean, I can see him like maybe saying that as a way of trying to say it's a message to Kawhi, but
So
again, that
He's hard on his players in private, isn't he?
okay. So
Yeah.
here's what he said. He said LaMarcus has been a monster all year long. He doesn't complain about a darn thing on the court. He plays through everything. I can't imagine being more proud of a player as far as playing through adversity and being there for his teammates night after night after night. He's been fantastic.
Yeah,
So
that's shade at
what was
Kawhi.
the question?
he was asked about um see, I don't think he was asked anything. I think he just kind of said it like after LaMarcus had like a really good performance against Golden State in the
Then
playoffs.
that's bad. Then that's kind of bad.
Yeah,
It,
I can see that.
it was shade, but like, is Pop known for throwing shade at his players publicly?
Not really.
It's one thing if he's asked like, how do you feel about Market Aldridge's year so far?
Mm.
Like at least and he went off on that. That's one thing.
Yeah,
But
I think this
if
is
he just
after. Yeah.
if he just
Yeah.
offered that, volunteered that, that's not good.
Yeah, I
You
think
think he called Phil Jackson and asked, "What should I do?" And Phil just said, "Just talk shit about your players on the media."
Yeah, I think that was after LaMarcus Aldridge scored 34 in Golden State, which was like fantastic performance by him. But okay, so yeah, that can kind of so it's fair to see that as shade. But like if you think about it, I'm sure everything that anybody said on that team during that time was interpreted as shade. So you kind of have to have like sort of you kind of have to step back at some point to think about, okay, is this really shade? Like, or am I just seeing it like this because of the situation that's happening? Maybe he would have said this anyway, stuff like that. But
I think he knew.
all
I
right.
just think I think that's so on Spurs like to even really talk about stuff like that though. Even like even try to be like that. I feel like if someone's injured and they're away, you kind of just like you kind of just don't bring them up. It's like, oh well, you say like he's injured, he's recovering, you don't leave it at that. I feel like when they started talking about it, that definitely seemed like maybe they knew he wasn't coming back potentially. I feel like you usually wouldn't see a team like the Spurs have players saying things like that, or even taking that stance about things.
Okay. So now for me, a Spurs fan's thoughts on all of that. All right. So I'm gonna admit I went through the whole year, all through all this trouble, thinking that a lot of this stuff was just the media blowing things up out of proportion, which I think was a fair thing to think. Now, because we know how the media is, they live for headlines. They want to get as many clicks as possible. I kind of thought it was just like, okay, well, I mean, of course there's gonna be some tension in the locker room. Like sometimes it just happens, and like I'm sure the injury stuff has been weird for him, and he's probably wanted to play. I really do think that he wanted to play, but he was just being extra cautious, and I think the Spurs were being extra cautious with his injury too. I don't think they were exactly pressuring him to play or anything. They just wanted to know what was going on, and I do think that like there's some blame to put on the Spurs for like maybe not handling it as best as they could. But we're all human, and like sometimes things just don't happen the way we want them to, and we can't find the right words to say. Now, I do think that now on the other hand, I do think there's some blame to put on Kawhi for maybe not speaking up as soon as he should have. Maybe he should have just like really. I did hear that like at one point he went to go talk to Popovich in San Diego, so maybe he voiced out his concerns there and he just said, "I'm done with y'all," and Pop was like, "All right, we'll figure something out." And then, so maybe he did that then, but I really do feel like he should have at least like released something to the public, or like maybe had like sent something to like one of the Spurs beat writers, like Jabari Young or Michael C. Wright, been like, look, I want you guys to get this out to the public just so that people can know how I feel and people aren't left in the dark anymore. Because like I
I thought
feel
he
like
did.
what?
I thought he did release something to the newspaper. I thought down there.
Oh no, that was like after he got traded. The thank you letter.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was after he got traded. So I'm talking about like during the whole saga of events. Like from March to when he got traded, he basically said nothing. There was this video that was released in March where Kawhi was talking about the thing, and like he said he wanted to be a Spur for life, which ended up being a little bit disingenuous, but people say things. So he talked in March, and then after that, like he didn't say anything until he got traded. So that was like 4 months 5 months of him leaving people in the dark. And it's not just like the fans. Like he may not owe anything to the fans, but at least the organization and his teammates, he needs to like. It was pretty clear that he wasn't communicating like the way he should have about his situation. And even if you weren't comfortable communicating to like the public or your teammates, like maybe just keep it under wraps and like you go to Pop, which maybe he did by with his meeting in San Diego, with the meeting they had in San Diego, but I don't know. So now, yeah, on Kawhi's side, like I feel like I was listening to his podcast today, on the Spurs Insider podcast, and like one of the guys who's always like always like always finds a reason to defend Kawhi even when he's in the wrong was talking about how like well people are praising him for like being a quiet guy and now you're mad at him for being quiet. Like I don't really think that's the right way of viewing things because like we did like him for being quiet and like but like in getting but by being quiet we kind of meant like like he's not going out getting into trouble. That's cool. He kind of lives frugally like that. He doesn't talk a lot of shit on the court, which is like something that's it's kind of seen as very Spurs like to kind of carry themselves with class and like not talk a lot, kind of like Tim Duncan did. And so that's kind of the perception we saw with him. But like but when you need to do like interviews and stuff, and then we need like run camps or like do like little shorts with like the Jordan brand, then like he would talk. Then that kind of made his character a little bit more likable. I mean, if he just like was like freaking mute or something, even though we know we could talk, like nobody would like that. He was quiet at the right times, and like the fact that like he was quiet when they most needed him to speak up, and it was very obvious that people needed him to speak up during that whole saga just kind of makes like just kind of makes him a lot more unlikable for a lot of people, not just Spurs fans. I think people might be kind of more wary about like is this guy gonna like backstab us and just not say anything, or is this guy gonna like just go AWOL on us for no reason or for very ill-defined reasons and very vague reasons. So yeah, like I just think that there's not a lot that he said that, and also like the thank you letter. That was Did you guys read a thank you letter?
No.
I did not read. I just kind of like saw that he released one to like the San Antonio like newspaper.
Yeah, so
But
basically it was kind of like a lot of people felt it was kind of half-assed and like it was kind of half-assed and
yeah,
just
I
like
mean
short.
when someone like Hawaii released something like that who has said any. All right. When someone like Hawaii releases like that though, I feel like you have to kind of like take it as like just sort of customary because what else can you do?
Yeah, I can see that, but like the thing about it is that it was so ill-timed, and when you like put it and when you juxtapose it next to stuff like how Tony Parker went to the Players Tribune and wrote and like pretty much poured his heart out for San Antonio, and then Danny Green had like a really heartfelt thank you on an Instagram post. Like I know you might just be like, oh, it's an Instagram post, but like if you actually read it, it's actually pretty emotional. Like, you could feel the emotions just reading the words that like Danny Green had put on the Instagram post. So like, and then with Kawhi, it just kind of came off as really like robotic and really like, well, I just got a template off the internet anyway.
Maybe
So
he's just not good at expressing himself.
I did consider that possibility, but I do think that like even if you're just not good at expressing yourself, maybe you could have like at least done something sooner, or maybe you just could have like like let people in on the situation or a little bit or something like that. Like, I think either way, like even if he's not very good at expressing himself, like he just kind of handled things badly. I think it's kind of hard to debate that.
Well, he did handle things badly, but maybe it wasn't malicious. Maybe he's just not good at it.
Yeah, I mean maybe I guess, but I mean the guy's 27. He's got to figure this stuff out eventually. Like, anyway. Let's move on from that. I think we've voiced out all of our thoughts on that situation. What do we think about the moves the Spurs have made this offseason outside of just a Kawhi trade and acquiring DeMar DeRozan? How will each of those pieces fit with the team, do you think? Let's start with you, Tofu.
Um, I thought they were just sort of the moves you make when you're hoping that you can still I mean not hoping you're planning still trying to compete as much as you can, but I mean the free agency obviously isn't great this offseason. So, and they have their star players. So a lot of times just role players. I mean, but they're not bad moves. They're just not flashy moves, obviously.
Right. Now, yeah. So I put the moves they made. There's like a link with like the moves I made in the chat if you guys want to look at that. What about you, Mang?
I think they got deeper, right? So they added Bellinelli. Who else?
Dante Cunningham. They drafted Lonnie Walker. Re-signed Rudy Gay. Re-signed Davis Bertans. Re-signed Bryn Forbes. Yeah.
Yeah, Cunningham is okay.
Yeah, he's a decent rotational player.
He
Good
could
they kept Rudy
like
Gay.
What'd you say?
Rudy Gay's.
Yeah, oh
Good they
yeah.
kept Rudy Gay.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good move to keep
I like the
Cunningham
Lonnie
on the bench.
Walker pick, and you could consider they're getting Derek White as a free
Oh
agent
yeah.
since
I'm
he
pretty
didn't play last
I'm
year.
I'm a huge fan of Derek White. I think you guys know this, but I'm a huge fan of Derek
Yeah,
White. I think he's gonna be
I,
great.
I like him too.
Yeah.
So I think they have a much deeper team than their 67 win team. It's just they don't have
They don't
someone
they
as
they,
good
they,
as
they don't have
Kawhi.
they don't have like the superstar like Kawhi.
I
Um
think I think their ceiling is first seed in the West. I think
I
that's
could
in
see
play.
that. I could see them. I could see like DeMar DeRozan being an amazing regular season player again, and then their depth just kind of like, or just kind of like making them like auto win against bad teams. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Yeah,
there are less bad teams to play, but I think
like they can still like they'll be at the point where they're not like losing games to like the Mavericks or Suns like at all, like or even like what or losing teams like bottom fourth of the West type teams. Like
well,
they
who did
just
they lose most to last year? That
Well, they lost the most to like the best teams. I mean, they were
so
pretty good,
yeah.
yeah. Especially on the road. It was mostly on the road that they were losing. Um,
So yeah, they could probably take more games from those.
yeah. I think that like if they really like ball out, I think they can be a 60-win team possibly. I don't think that's out of the question, honestly. Just because of their depth and like the fact that DeMar DeRozan is going to be great in the regular season, and LaMarcus Aldridge seems to have gotten better. He's got leaner last year, and he just was like on the top of his game, getting a lot of shots. You know.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I guess I'll talk about it. So what I am worried about a little bit, and we'll take our guesses with these, is the kind of the floor spacing this team has now. We have some shooters like, but I just kind of think that like, especially in a starting lineup, like it's gonna be kind of awkward because I've heard some people say, oh well, why don't you? Well, I'm really concerned about the Spurs' depth at small forward because like they lost Danny Green and Kawhi, both who can play the small forward position. And like, who do they have there now? Like, they don't really have like anyone who's like a true small forward there. Like, people have like kind of thrown around the idea of like, well, maybe you start Rudy Gay at the small forward. And I'm like, well, so you're saying we start DeJounte Murray, DeMar DeRozan, Rudy Gay, LaMarcus Aldridge, and Pau Gasol? Like, no. Like the spacing of that lineup just kind of makes me throw up my mouth a little bit. Like, you kind of, I just don't think you can have that in a modern NBA. So
DeRozan can play the three.
no, I'm saying that like the floor spacing, if you start Rudy Gay and DeRozan, is gonna be awful.
Yeah, it's not gonna be great.
Yeah, like I'm like it's like when I hear people throwing around the idea of starting Rudy Gay at the small forward, I'm like, did you think about that and what that means? Like that means they're starting DeRozan, Rudy Gay, and LaMarcus Aldridge. Like I know you like mid-range jumpers, but like you gotta like stop at some point and adapt to the
Yeah,
times.
I mean, unless Gerard Rosen proves he can actually be that 3-point shooter that he was trying to be last year.
Then no, yeah.
Yeah,
But I'm gonna assume that like to start he's gonna be like, and he's gonna be like a below average 3-point shooter. So like he was 31% last year. So I don't really think you can do that. Um, what I do think is a better move is moving Rudy Gay to the bench because Rudy Gay is like OP is like fantastic to have coming off the bench. And what I think they should do is that they should start. I think they should start DeJounte Murray. I think they should start. I think now what I say is I think they should start Bellinelli at the 2,
Makes sense.
and then DeRozan at the 3, LaMarcus Aldridge at the 4, and then you have Pau Gasol at the 5. Now, here's my hot take. I think by the end of the year, I think the starting 5 is going to be DeJounte Murray, Derek White, DeMar DeRozan, LaMarcus Aldridge, and Jakob Poeltl.
Makes sense.
I really hope that Derek White can get to a point this year where Popovich is like, okay, go ahead and start, because I think he's the perfect type of player the Spurs need to play at the 2. Because he's a guy who, like, if you've seen him in summer league, he's like hitting 3-pointers off the dribble. He's a good ball handler. He's a true combo guard,
He's
basically.
very savvy. Very savvy.
Oh yeah, that's the perfect way to describe it. He's an extremely savvy player on the court. He's got great court vision too, I think. And like,
He
mhm.
reminds me of some Manu, but he's not. He doesn't have the athleticism of Manu.
Yeah, like, and I also like the fact that he like has long arms and can defend too. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think he can be a good shooter on ball and off the ball. So like he can take like off the dribble threes, or like he can just get a pass from Murray maybe and just take a set shot 3. And so I like his ability to do that, and he's young, so like the more we can start him, the more we can run. And with a guy like DeJounte Murray, like being able to run with him is great. I think the Spurs haven't utilized that much DeJounte Murray's ability to run the floor. But anyway, I think we got to start Bellinelli for a while though, just because he can shoot and it helps space the floor for DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge. Also, Pau Gasol can kind of space the floor because you can't leave Pau Gasol wide open for a 3, or it's gonna sink. So yeah, I think that's what they're gonna do. And in terms of some of the other moves, I like re-signing Davis Bertans. He's a good bench piece. You know, he can come off the bench, shoot some threes. He shot like 37% last year on 3 attempts. That's fine. Bryn Forbes, about like 38, 39% on 3 attempts too. That's a fine guy to have come off the bench. Lonnie Walker probably won't play this year, so I'm not worried about him. Jakob Poeltl, good acquisition. Dante Cunningham is a good rotational piece, so I don't know. I think the Spurs will be fine this year. I think that like I think that over under set at 43.5 that Vegas put out is pretty silly. But I think that's gonna go up because people are gonna hit the over on that too much. So
What's the what are the odds for 43 for over? How much will I win?
I don't know. I don't know how that stuff works actually. You should just ask Savage about that because I think he
What
knows more.
website are you looking at? Wait,
As far as odds go, whatever you bet, it's like however many to one. It's like whatever you bet times that number is how much you'd win if they won.
let's see, Vegas Insider. Let's see. Um,
So while you're looking at that, let's actually move on to talking about who you think's gonna start for the Spurs this from for the Spurs let's say for the season opener. Mang, what do you think?
I think what you said. Bellinelli.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
the John Tamar Bellinelli, DeRozan, uh,
Aldridge.
Aldridge, and Gasol.
Yeah, do you agree, Tofi?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Yeah, I'm particularly looking forward to how the season's gonna go. I think that now the Spurs don't have that sort of like ominous cloud of what's gonna happen with Kawhi hanging over them. I think maybe they'll have better health this year because guys like Manu, Aldridge, Murray all missed time last year. And and like Manu Ginobili is like legit the second best player on the Spurs last year. It was interesting. So now that LaMarcus Aldridge has some help and won't get triple teamed in the playoffs again, which actually happened, Spurs should be in for a good year, I think. What do you guys think about DeJounte Murray? I'm curious about that.
He's good.
Yeah, I think he's a good player. He's young, so he has time to improve. I don't see why he can't. I mean, he left school relatively early. Like he should have been there with Markel Fultz, to be honest with you, but he left early, and he's a young player, so you just he has plenty of time to get better. And I think the Spurs have a good character with developing their players. So I can't see a situation where he doesn't do at least be a good role player for them.
Yeah, I especially love his ability to be a defensive point. I think he's going to be one of the best defensive point guards in the league one day. Like, I'm hoping he can at least be Patrick Beverly or something. Like, just like block down other point guards and then like be able to hit open threes. That's all I want him to be able to do. And excuse me. Yeah, like I remember this one game against OKC where the guy was just totally D'ing up Westbrook, and it was incredible. Dude was like poking the ball out of Westbrook's hand, had like 7 steals or something like that. It was incredible. He'll be able to stuff the stat sheet someday. He'll score like 15. He'll average like 15 points, 10 rebounds, and then like 4 or 5 assists, which I think would be excellent. But anyway, yeah, I'm looking forward to his improvement. He seems like a guy who wants to put in the work, so that's nice. Let's move on to one last hot take about the Spurs that you have this season. I'll start with myself. Personally, I think the Spurs will win, let's say, 57 games, and I think that DeMar DeRozan is going to shoot about a little over 35% from 3 this season. How about you, man?
All right, I'm going full hot take. Spurs will be the first seed in the West.
Damn.
DeMar DeRozan will shoot over 38% from 3.
Pop might actually be a
And
wizard if that happens.
and he will. He almost did. Then he almost do it last year. And anyway, he'll be like top 10 in threes made this year, overall in the season.
Whoa.
He's gonna shoot in high volume.
Oh, those are some.
High
Oh,
volume.
those are spicy. I like it.
That's hotter than mine, but I think the Spurs win the division.
Oh, over the Rockets too. Wow.
Over the Rockets.
I like it. I like it. I like it a lot. Yeah, over the Pelicans, the Rockets, even the Mavericks, Grizzlies. Yeah, they're gonna beat the Mavericks and Grizzlies. Yeah, no. Let me look. There's a stretch in the season where DeMar DeRozan was like amazing from 3.
Pelicans obviously don't. I don't think they do as well.
The Pelicans.
Yeah, I don't think they do as well. Obviously,
Pelicans are not a regular season team.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Yeah. Okay. So DeMar DeRozan from December 1st to like January 11th shot 44% from 3 on 4 times a game. That's incredible.
Yeah.
So he has these stretches where he's like really hot. I think he's a great regular season player. The Spurs will be fine in the regular season, I think. Yeah, they're gonna do okay. So okay, I like those takes. Those are nice and spicy, and we can come back to this later once the season goes on. All right. So for the last topic of discussion for today, we have the Boston Celtics, and let's see, how do we start this off? Oh yeah. So first, let's start this by talking about like what we think of what we kind of think of the team right now. What do you think? What do you think they're going to be next year? Let's start with Tofu.
The one thing I think they're going to be a good team, best team in the East. Like that's my opinion right there. I think they're the best team in the East. The only thing I'm genuinely worried about with this team is that I believe their first unit, if Brad does what we project him to do, is our first team is not going to be as good on defense as it was last year. Like no question about it. Because we're going to be inserting Hayward back in there. We're taking out either Jaylen Brown or Tatum to some degree, and we're putting Kyrie back in there, and Kyrie's going to be a scorer. I think last year Kyrie defensively wasn't. That's going to be reduced again. I think he was more trying to be a team player last year. I think this year he's going to be trying to be who he really is. But I think they're still going to be the best team in the East regardless.
Okay. I'll go next. I think that no, I that's interesting because I think I agree with your assessment about their team defense because I think that putting Kyrie back in the starting lineup is gonna hurt that a little bit. Just because like Kyrie is a guy who like can be consistently exposed on defense. Like that's gonna be a little bit troublesome for them, but I think that when you have Kyrie and you can give him the ball and he'll probably like do something with it. It's worth like being a little bit weaker on defense.
Yeah, I don't see scoring as a problem for them. I just see like if we're going to do a scoring match, it marginally, if we're not like we can't defend and like shut them down on some key possessions, it's gonna be like if finals are lost, we're gonna be out in the finals.
Oh yeah. I think you guys can I think you guys will be able to handle like scoring matches better with Kyrie back and with even with Hayward back, I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah, so like you guys may not be as good on defense, but like you'll be able to score. Unlike last year, where you guys like just could, where you guys just have these like incredible droughts where you just could not score at all.
Yeah.
It's also an effect when a team has so much capacity to score. They just leave defense behind because they don't need it that much.
Well, they're not the
Yeah.
Nuggets, but they're not the Nuggets, so they're gonna care about defense, I think.
Yeah.
And like even if like Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum get like less shots, which I think they're gonna each get less shots, they just have to. They're gonna like give a lot all of the effort on defense. So
I mean,
that.
I hope Brad starts takes into account potentially to like make these lines made somewhat defensively around like Hayward and Kyrie because I don't know how it sometimes. I mean, at the worst of times, they're going to be just absolute, just liabilities on defense, and I want to see how he works around that in the playoffs. More importantly, because you got to start them, but who are you going to start with them around them in the end?
Yeah, and you mean like in the playoffs, you're gonna start with them?
Yeah, because I mean, I don't know if they're gonna. I feel like throughout the season, he's gonna have to like sort of like tinker with who he puts with them and who he puts in the second team because I mean, because you have Smart, you have Rozier, you have Brown, Tatum. Like, who are you gonna put in these roles at like time the 2 and at the 4 essentially? You're gonna have Horford probably your 5 most of the year. That's pretty much locked in. Or maybe what's the guy's name? Robert Williams. Hopefully he can develop, maybe get some minutes to 5 potentially. But as far as I go, it's going to be Horford, Hayward, and Kyrie locked into those 3 starting roles in the playoff comes. And it's 2 starting roles for those 4 players basically that are like young.
Right. Yeah. Um. Yeah, it's a good problem to have. They have a lot of depth. Still got Terry Rozier hanging out. Marcus Morris is still a good player.
Right.
Who else? Who else? They'll have Semi Ojeleye, who can be a good wing defender.
Yeah.
Maybe he can even smack some threes off the bench.
Gersh.
Yeah, Gersh. He may not get
I
much
think
playing time next year, but he probably maybe will. I don't know.
there's an interesting case with the Celtics. Like, even though they're the favorite to win, in most of the series that they could play in, they will not have the best player in that series.
Even in the East.
Yeah, like against the Raptors, Kawhi's better.
Right.
Against the Sixers,
I guess
I'd say
Embiid's better
Embiid is
than any of
player.
them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe Simmons as well. And against the Bucks, Giannis is better.
Right.
But we don't know if the supporting cast of the Bucks will be good
I'm
enough.
worried Giannis will just waste his career there. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to when we talk about the Bucks because that's gonna be fun to talk about. Yeah, I think Giannis and Anthony Davis are gone. But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, the writing is on the wall for those guys, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to the Celtics. Yeah, they have a lot of good problems. I think they're gonna win like 66 games personally. They're gonna be the best regular season team in the NBA.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they're going to just flop throughout the seasons at times because I think they're going to be hard to defend as it is.
Oh yeah.
So that's going to be to their advantage, and they're going to score a lot. So
Mhm.
and they're not going to have a problem doing it. They're not going to, and I think Brad's going to let them score as much as they want and kind of do what they want because he knows that they can. He knows that he has like guys to bring in to like bring the game back in if it like gets out of hand to some degree on like they're losing because they have like that second year they can just bring in, lock it down, and bring it back to where it's a closer game.
Yeah, and I think they have an interesting situation. I think you got to be. I think you got to be glad you're a little bit lucky too, because like I don't think anybody in the Celtics team has like an ego. Like you got to hope that nobody on this team gets like mad about not getting enough shots or something.
Beyond Kyrie,
Maybe Kyrie. Maybe
I think
Kyrie might get.
only one Kyrie is probably one I'd worry about with that.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I might be slightly worried about him like deciding, man, I come to another team and they just draft these amazing players and get
I
Gordon
mean
Hayward.
that's why we're not sure he's even going to be. and Boston
Yeah.
next year.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
he might go to, God forbid, the Knicks.
Well, you can just be like, well, you know what? If you want to leave, you can. We'll just re-sign Terry Rozier, and he'll do your job for you.
I
Pretty
think
much.
there's a lot of talk that both parties knew that he may not resign there, and
yeah,
then
I mean,
the Celtics were okay with it. They're like, okay,
that's
let's
why
go
you
with
don't
this.
give up that pick, or you hope to not give
Oh
up.
yeah,
You
they
don't
had
want
the
to give up
Kings pick too. Shit.
that pick. Yeah.
That Kings pick is probably going to be number one actually, because I think the Kings might be the worst team in the NBA next season. Well, they won't be the worst, but they're going to be the worst in the West, I think.
Atlanta?
No, I think the Kings are going to be worse in the West. They're not going to be
Yeah.
worse than Atlanta.
Oh
But
yeah. I mean, I feel bad for Marvin Bagley, but yeah, they're gonna be the worst in the West.
yeah, and the Celtics are going to feast on that pick, so that's fun. Maybe they draft like some prodigal point guard, or I don't know. Maybe they just extend Terry Rozier, and he basically is like,
Trash Zion.
yeah. Oh Lord, imagine that. But yeah. What do you think about like their did they make any moves this offseason? What did they do this offseason?
I didn't see many. I didn't see many moves.
Um,
Let me check.
Not much. Yeah, they didn't have to.
Let's see. Waived Rodney Purvis, re-signed Jabari Bird, uh, re-signed Marcus Smart. Oh yeah, let's talk about Marcus Smart actually. That's an interesting one.
They lost Marcus Morris, right?
No,
I
they
mean,
kept him.
I
Okay.
mean, Marcus Smart situation. I mean, you hope he may gets happier this year about what happened, but
What do you mean
he,
about what
yeah,
happened?
he clearly wasn't happy about being like. He felt like he was being like put in the back burner because of how long it took to like re-sign him or sign him again.
Oh yeah.
And so you hope that doesn't really carry into the year and that he builds, or if it does, maybe he plays a chip on his shoulder and plays well, and then you do reward him in the end. But that's always a worry that if you this player that you really want in the end and you treat him this way, he might just want to go somewhere else.
I mean, my take is he got 15 million. He got 52 million dollars. I think he's gonna be. Well, I don't mean it like that, but I think he got enough. He got like what his market value probably was, maybe
Yeah,
even a little bit above it, and he's still on the same team. So like, I think he'll be fine. I think he'll be okay with that. He's like, I got my money, and I'm on the Celtics. I'm doing pretty good, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I think he's doing pretty good. He'll be happy with that money, but I think he's huge.
Did he
He's
really think he was worth more than that? Like that's more than
of
Tyreek
course he
Evans
did.
got
Of
paid
course
for
he
the
did.
paid.
not this year, but next year or the year after, he could have gotten more. But
Really?
I think the
Really?
biggest deal with Smart is that he could get traded, and then he could be used as like, because the Celtics, you look at their salary
Mm,
sheet, that
yeah.
it's all like really small salaries or really big
Yeah.
ones, and Marcus
Yeah.
Smart is just right there. So
Oh
you
yeah,
could
It's
you
they're
could
planning
tradable
something.
pair
contract. Very
you
tradable
could
contract.
They're
you
planning
could
something.
pair Marcus Smart with Jalen Brown and then get a really good player, or
Yeah,
Marcus Smart, Jalen Brown,
let me look at their payroll.
three future
So
picks, the Kings pick,
I
their
mean,
own pick,
I mean,
another pick, and they could get a superstar.
I think Brad was already trying to sell any player, trying to put up the sale on any players he could when he said that we have like 8 starters on our team. So
yeah, well, I wonder if he'll be calling up Anthony Davis. He might be calling up Anthony Davis soon. We'll see about that.
right.
I really do think that like if the Pelicans are like just having a tough time in like a West that's gonna be really difficult, and like they're like the 10th seed by the trade deadline or something like that, they might just be like, all right, let's just get rid of Anthony Davis. It's probably in their best interest at that point if they're really like not in the playoffs with Anthony Davis or something like that. If things just go really badly and Elfrid Payton is like awful or something like that. Um.
Julius Randle, though,
Yeah, they do have that, but maybe it just
like
maybe it doesn't work out between them. Who knows?
no, I think it's gonna work out so well. We'll save that for the Pelicans pod.
Okay, yeah. I'm getting that. We're getting ahead of ourselves. Okay, so yeah, we talked about Marcus Smart. I do. So about Marcus Smart, I think he got maybe like slightly overpaid considering the market, but like Marcus Smart on the Celtics, I'd say is probably worth $52 million for over 4 years. Do you see what I'm trying to say? Like on another team, he wouldn't be worth that money, but on this team, I think he is. Do you
Well,
do you see my point?
since he's a restricted free agent, he was worth that money on another team.
Oh, was he restricted? I thought he was
Yeah,
unrestricted. Okay. That makes this a little bit more logical.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, well, they didn't. I guess they made him go out and get an offer sheet or something. Like he didn't get any offer sheets. I just maybe he just told him, hey, I got like 45, I got like 40, 45 million on waiting for me on another team or something. And the Celtics were like, all right, we'll give you 50 something. I don't know. Maybe that's what happened. But I definitely don't remember him getting any offer sheets. Maybe I don't know. Maybe the Kings threw like $40 million at him because they do something like that. Who knows? Um, yeah. So we talked about Marcus Smart. Let's talk about their draft news. What do you think about Robert Williams?
Oh, the guy who didn't show up to their whatever. I, I
Yeah,
think I think he I think he has some other problems and he needs to deal with them.
that's a possibility.
Like nothing to do with basketball.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
I
I
think
was.
there was
Hmm?
yeah, you were saying?
Yeah, I was laughing reading his stuff just because it kind of reminded me of like freaking like sleeping in and being late for classes and shit in college. I'm like, oh, that would totally be me if I was in the NBA. I'd be like waking up late, like, oh shit, I got practice today.
Yeah.
That would 100% be me. And I'm just like, well, I'm late for practice today, but I got like a million. I got like a few millis sitting in the bank, so I'm cool. That would definitely be me. So it's interesting that there's a player like that, and he got a place like a few minutes from the practice facility, which is pretty
Yeah,
funny.
just across. But everyone's excited that he's very talented. So
Yeah, he definitely is. What do you think about him, Tofu? Tofu, what are your thoughts on Robert Williams?
I really think that he could be a really good center, and you hope that whatever reason made him fall in the draft don't come up with us. But I, as far as I know, we have Horford, so I just hope that he can learn behind Horford and become at least a good role player, potentially a starter, hopefully. But I'm not super like high as far as him being like a great player at this point.
That's fair. Yeah, I haven't watched him play much, but I definitely know that like I don't know how he did in summer league, but I know he's a very talented guy. Um, Definitely can get up there, and it's the Celtics thing. They got their little system, their player development. You saw what happened with Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum, and I think he's in good hands. He'll be fine. He'll probably maximize the potential with the Celtics if he wants to do that. So yeah, he'll be okay. Now let's move on to our predictions for the Celtics. Now what's one prediction you have for the Celtics this season, Tofu?
I guess the one prediction I have is that we at least win 2 games in the finals.
I agree with that. I agree with that. I think the Celtics will lose anyway, but they're gonna win 2 games, I think.
That's all you can hope for right now
Yeah,
is
yeah.
that
I
we
think
win some games in the finals.
yeah, I think that if DeMarcus Cousins is relatively healthy and comes back better than people expect him, then like he's gonna be a pretty big problem.
Yeah, that's gonna be rough if he comes back and he's like even even what I would say at least 80% of the player he was. That's gonna be an issue for any team.
Oh yeah, for sure. Especially the Celtics, I think. I think they're gonna have a tougher time, like dealing with that, and then like having
Yeah,
to guard Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, and Kevin Durant.
Durant.
That's so silly, dude. Anyway, that's a discussion for another time. But all right, yeah, that's a good take. What about you, Meg?
I think Brad Stevens gets exposed one way or another. He
Ooh,
will no longer be the coach darling of the NBA.
ooh, explain, please.
I just think like problems will start coming up, and then people will no longer think that Brad Stevens is this genius coach, and then he you just start seeing holes in the system.
Like what, like what do you
Is
think?
that
What kind of
you think they
problems?
missed the playoff sort of system?
No, just like the Celtics will struggle in some areas in some way, and then people will start saying maybe just Brad Stevens doesn't do this or do it like this, where because like in every year, all the systems were like very point guard focused. That it focused a lot on the point guard, even though their best player for a lot of the time was Jason Tatum. and they didn't move the offense around him enough. So maybe I just think that he'll get exposed in sort of
The only thing I can see that happening is if he maybe favors a player and that upsets most of the locker room.
something like that.
That's
Something
that's
like
the
that.
most logical thing I can see happening. Like
Favors
like
Hayward, and Hayward's doing really poor this year, and he should start someone else, and that becomes a thing.
yeah, and
But
like and
they'll
like
s-
yeah, I
but
could see
they'll
that.
still win like at least 60 games
Oh yeah.
and make the finals. That'll still happen, but Brad Stevens will get exposed in one way.
All right, yeah. I just think the most logical way of that happening is like some players getting pissed off that like they're not getting enough shots because you got like some really good offense. You got like several really good offensive players on there. I think Al Horford and not Jason, but Jaylen Brown are like the least likely for that to happen to. Probably. I could see
I mean, you
Kyrie.
hope.
Yeah.
Then you don't know how Jalen Brown's going to be from like last year when he was playing so much in the playoffs, and that's also not going to be the same as this year. So, I mean, I just hope that some of them understand this is not the same as last year, and they're not getting the same amount of playing time. And I don't know if that's going to be the case for some of them that are like, as far as like Marcus Smart maybe, or Terry Rozier, or maybe Jalen Brown. I feel like those three might be upset about their playing time.
Yeah, or how many shots they're getting. Like if Marcus Smart is pissed off that he doesn't get to jack up as many threes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll go with my thing. They're gonna win 66 games, make it to the finals, win 2 games probably. I think that another thing that will happen is that I think Kyrie Irving's there's gonna be some rumblings, some rumors of Kyrie Irving getting pissed off about not feeling like the true leader and not feeling like the true most important player on the team. I think there's gonna be some rumors that come out. They may not be super verifiable, but if they happen, you heard it here first. So I think that's what's gonna happen with the Celtics, or with Kyrie more
Right.
specifically. But I don't think it's a surprise. He might end up leaving next year just because he's like, well, dang it, I come here and they draft Jason Tatum and he's a stud. God damn it. So he might get pissed off about that.
Yeah.
But yeah. So to end things, is there anything we have left to talk about our 3 teams? The Lakers, not Wizards, shit. The Lakers, Spurs, and Celtics. Anything else?
No.
No.
How long did we go for?
Let me see. That was an hour and 17 minutes.
Not bad.
Solid.
Yeah, it's pretty decent. All right, guys, whoever the hell's listening, thank you for listening, and we will come back next episode with 3 new teams that we will talk about that will be determined at a later date. All right, and